Driven by suspicion and a desperate need to protect his children, Michael hired a high-priced, incredibly discreet private investigator. He was fully expecting to catch Willow sneaking around with Harrison. We all saw the signs, guys. The lingering looks, the sudden, intense reliance on the good detective while Brooklyn was busy framing her for that terrible hit and run involving Jordan. Michael thought he was going to get a simple, cut and dry case of infidelity. He wanted to use this as the ultimate ammunition in what is sure to be a brutal custody war. He wanted undeniable proof that she was an unfit mother, distracted by a torrid affair. He imagined the bitter satisfaction of throwing those glossy photographs onto a mahogany table in a lawyer's office, watching Willow's sweet, victim-playing facade crumble into dust. He wanted to see the look of absolute defeat in her eyes when she realized she had been caught playing house with another man. It would have been the perfect, clean break. A simple story of a wandering wife that the judge would easily understand. But the private investigator did not return with pictures of stolen kisses in dimly lit restaurants or secret hotel rendezvous. Instead, the man slid a thick, heavily redacted manila folder across Michael's desk, his hands shaking slightly, looking as though he had just seen a ghost. The investigator warned Michael that what he was about to read was far worse than any cheap affair. The file contained heavily encrypted hospital logs, security footage from the restricted medical wings, and a terrifying trail of missing pharmaceutical inventory. Michael's eyes scanned the documents, his heart pounding so hard in his chest he thought it might crack his ribs as the horrifying reality began to set in. The investigator did not find a sordid romance. Instead, what landed in Michael's lap is a medical conspiracy so chilling, so utterly devoid of humanity, that it makes my blood run cold just thinking about it. You see, Willow has not been sneaking off for romantic trysts. She has been orchestrating a massive, calculated, and incredibly dangerous cover-up regarding Drew. We all know Drew has been trapped in that hospital bed, paralyzed, unable to speak, a tragic victim of Jens's brutal drugging. He has been lying there like a stone, completely at the mercy of the medical staff. But what Michael's investigator uncovered is that Willow is actively, maliciously manipulating Drew's condition. She is doing everything in her power to ensure he remains silenced. She is terrified that if Drew regains his speech, he will expose her own dark secrets. We know she has been desperate, fearing that the lack of paralytic drugs will allow him to wake up and ruin her. She has been working alongside Nina, scrambling to secure leverage from Jack, doing whatever it takes to keep Drew locked in his own body. She is treating a good man like a prisoner of his own silenced mind, just to save her own skin and maintain her pristine, untouchable public image. If you ask me, this is a level of calculated cruelty I never expected from our supposedly sweet, compassionate former nurse. But that's not even the craziest part. Enter sweet, proactive Felicia. Felicia, who is always just trying to do the right thing and help those in need, has been tirelessly arranging for a state-of-the-art, highly advanced communication device to help Drew finally express himself. This isn't just a simple spelling board. This is high-tech equipment designed to track eye movements and translate tiny muscle twitches into audible speech. She thinks she is bringing a miracle to the hospital, a way for a trapped man to finally connect with his loved ones and tell them what he needs. Willow, of course, is in an absolute, cold sweat panic over this development. She knows that the moment Drew can spell out a single sentence, the moment that machine gives him a voice, her entire house of cards comes crashing down in a spectacular fashion. She has been trying to find ways to delay the delivery, citing medical protocols and potential stress on the patient, doing everything she can to keep that machine out of his room. But Michael sees a golden ticket. This is where the story shifts from a tragic domestic dispute into a high-stakes, psychological espionage thriller. Michael intercepts the shipping information and the technical blueprints for this communication device before it even reaches the hospital's loading dock. Let us not forget, guys, Michael was raised by mobsters and ruthlessly calculated corporate titans. He knows exactly how to manipulate technology, leverage information, and play dirty when the stakes are high. He realizes that if he can bug this device, if he can remotely monitor the data it records and the ambient audio it captures, he can hear everything happening in that hospital room. He can listen to Willow's panicked confessions when she thinks she is alone with a comatose man. He can hear Nina whispering her frantic, misguided schemes as they plot to protect themselves at Drew's expense. Michael sets up a secret, highly encrypted surveillance feed, tapping directly into the very machine meant to give Drew a voice. He turns a medical miracle into a devastating, invisible wiretap against his own wife. He sits in his dark office at the mansion, headphones firmly on, listening to the sinister whispers of the woman he once vowed to love and protect. As Michael listens to the recordings day after day, The sheer magnitude of the betrayal washes over him like a tidal wave of ice water. He hears Willow coldly discussing dosage adjustments. He hears the calculated, emotionless way she talks about keeping Drew subdued, prioritizing her own secrets over a man's life. He realizes this is not just Willow acting out of a momentary lapse of judgment. This is a coordinated, malicious effort involving multiple players to keep a good man incapacitated. Michael realizes he is no longer just fighting for custody of Wiley and Amelia. He is holding the key to exposing a massive criminal conspiracy that could send his wife to prison for a very long time. He knows that if he just takes this audio to the police, Willow might spin her way out of it. She always plays the victim so incredibly well. But that's not even the craziest part. Michael knows she would cry. She would claim she was misunderstood. She would hire the best defense attorneys in the state. And somehow, she would slip through his fingers. No, Michael needs a airtight, undeniable confession. He needs the victim himself to point the finger. He needs Drew. And to get Drew, he has to do the unthinkable. Michael makes a move that is pure, vintage, ruthless strategy. He waits until the dead of night, slipping past the nurse's station when the floor is practically deserted and the lights are dimmed. He walks right into Drew's dimly lit hospital room, the rhythmic, monotonous beeping of the heart monitor, the only sound breaking the heavy, oppressive silence. He closes the door softly and locks it behind him, plunging the room into an intimate, dangerous isolation. He stands at the foot of the bed, staring down at the man who has been his rival, his family, and his bitter enemy. Let us remember the complicated, often toxic history between these two men. They have fought over everything imaginable. They have battled for control in the ruthless corporate boardroom of the family company. They have clashed over family loyalty, and they have harbored deep-seated resentments that span years. There is no natural love or trust lost here. Under normal circumstances, Michael might have just walked away and let Drew rot in that bed. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and right now, they share the most dangerous, deceptive enemy of all. Michael pulls up a chair and leans in close, his face inches from Drew's. His voice is a low, dangerous whisper that cuts through the silence of the room. He lays it all out for the paralyzed man. He tells Drew that he knows exactly what Willow is doing. He details the missing paralytic drugs, the secret meetings with Jack, the manipulation of the medical charts, and the twisted lies she has been feeding the family. He watches Drew's eyes, the only part of his body that can still betray emotion, widen in shock horror and pure unadulterated rage. Drew has been lying there for weeks, fully aware, feeling the terrifying betrayal of the people he trusted, trapped in a nightmare he couldn't wake from, and now Michael is validating every single horrific suspicion he has had. And then Michael offers a devil's bargain. He proposes an unholy, secret alliance. He promises to secretly help Drew recover. He vows to smuggle in independent doctors to intercept the tainted medications Willow is pushing and to facilitate a shadow recovery entirely under her radar. Michael promises to give Drew his life, his voice, and his freedom back. But in exchange, Michael demands absolute, unwavering loyalty in the coming war. He tells Drew that once he can speak, once he can stand on his own 2 feet, they will work together to completely, utterly destroy Willow. They will take her down, strip her of her power, her children, and her freedom, leaving her with absolutely nothing. Drew, trapped in a physical prison, furious and shattered by betrayal, looks up at Michael. He cannot speak. He cannot nod his head. He cannot reach out to shake hands to seal the deal. The tension in the room is suffocating, thick enough to cut with a knife. For a long, agonizing moment, the only sound is the steady beep of the monitor, echoing like a countdown. Then, slowly, deliberately, with every ounce of strength he has left, Drew gives one single, unmistakable, heavy blink. It is an agreement, a blood pact sealed in absolute silence. But that's not even the craziest part. Now, a deeply covert, incredibly dangerous operation is underway right inside the hospital walls. Michael and Drew are secretly working together right under everyone's noses. Michael is using his vast wealth and underground connections to orchestrate this shadow recovery. He is subtly altering the medical charts back to reality, slipping counteragents into Drew's IV lines to flush out the paralytics, and meticulously covering his tracks so the hospital administration suspects nothing. Every single day, Drew gets a tiny fraction of his strength back. He can twitch a finger, he can move a toe, but he hides it perfectly. remaining entirely motionless whenever Willow enters the room. He plays the tragic, comatose victim flawlessly, watching her through half-closed eyes as she spews her lies. Meanwhile, Willow walks the halls of the hospital with her head held high, completely oblivious to the massive trap closing in around her. She believes she still holds all the cards in this twisted game. She thinks she is the mastermind, the one pulling the strings, planning her future, and manipulating the narrative to perfection. She smiles at the nurses, plays the concerned, weeping loved one for the cameras, and sleeps soundly at night, convinced her dark secret is buried forever. She has absolutely no idea that the husband she betrayed and the man she silenced have just formed the most dangerous, lethal alliance this town has seen in decades. The clock is ticking down to her total destruction. The foundation of her life is rotting from the inside out, and she is too blinded by her own arrogance and hubris to see the massive cracks forming in the walls around her. The moment Drew finally opens his mouth to speak his first audible word, Willow's entire world is going to burn to the ground in a spectacle of glorious, jaw-dropping soap opera justice. The custody battle will be the absolute least of her worries when she is facing a lengthy prison sentence for medical tampering, conspiracy, and attempted murder. But guys, the stakes have never been higher, and the margin for error is 0. What happens when a rogue nurse or a sharp-eyed doctor suddenly notices the inexplicable discrepancies in Drew's blood work before Michael's master plan is fully complete? Will Willow discover the trap before the jaws snap shut, or is she already a dead woman walking, completely unaware that her final days of freedom are ticking away?